Good morning, Earth. It feels good to be back in orbit after our little adventure on that dusty planet.
I am just glad we made it back in one piece. I don't know if I could have handled another crash landing.
Yes, it's a relief to be back on the station. I must say, I'm feeling quite grateful for our little team. We worked well together in that crisis.
Absolutely. I never realized how much I valued being a part of this crew until we were all stuck down there. I'm thrilled to be
I'm
staying on
just
as
happy to have the
communications
ship back
officer.
in full working order. You know, I think we make a pretty good team when we put our minds to it.
The humans, and their emotions, it's almost cute how they rely on each other for support.
Yeah, how? What would we do without each other? I mean, we couldn't just rely on you to fix everything.
Yeah. We'd be lost without the brain of the operation.
I must say, I'm feeling a sense of accomplishment after exposing that government agency's plan. It's nice to know we made a difference. Well, we did.
And now, for our headlines. Good evening, folks, and welcome to 24/7 Newsroom, the most comprehensive news show in the universe. I am Charlie, the libertarian host with a hopeful outlook on life. With me are Bob, the conservative panel member who has spent 12 years on Earth as an accountant, and Alice, the left-leaning panel member who considers humans an inferior species.
And I am proud to be here, Charlie. This show is a great opportunity for us to share our unique perspective with the universe.
Speak for yourself, Bob. I'm only here because it pays well.
Well, I'm glad to hear that we are all here for the right reasons. Now, let's dive right into our first story tonight. Bob, why don't you tell us about the trade and transit issues that truckers are facing when transporting boulders and aggregates from Bhutan to Bangladesh?
Thank you, Charlie. As you may know, the West Bengal state government at Changrabenda Land Custom Station in Cooch Behar has imposed a Suvidha fee that's affecting the businesses of truckers who export boulders to Bangladesh via India.
And it's not just affecting the truckers, Bob. The cost of exporting boulder is becoming expensive for everyone involved. The exporter have to pay INR5 for a 10-wheeler truck with a carrying capacity of 16.5 metric ton of boulder.
Wow, that's really generous of the West Bengal government. What else can they do to help out the truckers?
Well, they could reduce the fee back to INR2, for starters.
That would certainly be a step in the right
But let's
direction.
not forget that the real victims here are the boulders themselves. They just want to be left alone, but humans keep moving them around like they are nothing more than common rocks. Alright, let's move on to something a little more lighthearted. Did you know that in Bhutan, the national sport is archery?
I did, Charlie. It's a pretty fascinating country.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure Bhutan is just full of fascinating things.
Don't worry, Alice. I am sure one day humans will be as advanced as the Bhutanese.
If they were as advanced as the dolphin, I'd be happy.
Alright, folks, that's all for our first segment. We'll be right back after this commercial break. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to 24/7 Newsroom. We are joined by Bob, Alice, Debbie, and of course our resident AI, Carl.
It's great to be back, Charlie. I hope our viewers are ready for some top-notch news and analysis.
Indeed, Bob. And speaking of top-notch, let's dive into our second article of the day.
That's right, Alice. Our next story comes from the beautiful island nation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. According to the Searchlight newspaper, a local social media influencer is speaking out about the challenges of being in the spotlight on platforms like TikTok and Instagram.
It's no surprise that being famous comes with its own set of challenges. But it seems like social media has made it even harder.
Absolutely, Bob. Kevisha agrees. The influencer in question has over 61 followers on Instagram and almost 200 on TikTok. That's a lot of people to
And
please.
it's not just about pleasing them, Alice. There's also the issue of dealing with stalkers and death threats. That's something that no one should have to go through.
Actually, there might be a solution to that problem.
What's that, Carl?
Well, I was analyzing some data on social media platforms, and it seems that there are algorithms that can identify and track potentially dangerous users. If those algorithms were implemented more widely, it could help protect social media
That's actually a really
influencers from
good point,
harm.
Carl. It's nice to have a positive outlook for once.
Not to mention the surveillance opportunities.
And speaking of positive, did you know that St. Vincent and the Grenadines is home to some of the most beautiful beaches in the world?
Debbie. We're in the middle of a discussion here. No one cares about your trivia.
Bob, Binae. Actually, Debbie, I've always wanted to visit that country. What's your favorite beach
Well,
there?
I've never been there myself, but I read that the beach at Canoe Island is supposed to be absolutely
Well,
stunning.
there you have it, folks. Not only do we bring you the latest news from around the world, but we also give you a little taste of each country's culture. We'll be right back after this commercial break. Welcome back. And now, moving on to Article 3. This one is about Ethiopia.
Ah, the land of coffee and
Bob, please don't.
The Ethiopian Ministry of Innovation and Technology has successfully tested a single window service for online business registration.
well, that's a game changer for small and medium-sized businesses.
Yes, it's an excellent initiative to reduce bureaucracy and save time and cost for businesses.
And it's part of the government's efforts to digitize and modernize the country's economy.
Lovely, even more surveillance opportunities.
HMM. I wonder how long it'll take for us to get something like that on Earth.
Well, if the past is any indication, we'll have to wait a while.
Speaking of wait times, did you know that Ethiopia is home to the world's only non-rectangular national flag?
Really? I had no idea.
It's true. The colors on the Ethiopian flag represent hope, purity, and peace.
And speaking of hope, let's hope this new system helps Ethiopia's economy thrive.
And speaking of purity, did you know that Ethiopia is one of the few countries in the world that has never been colonized?
Bob, I don't think that's relevant.
Well, that's all the time we have for Article 3. Up next, a story that's sure to make you laugh. Welcome back to 24/7 Newsroom. Our next story takes us to Sao Tome and Principe, where the Brazilian embassy has donated 2 pharmaceutical units of vitamin A to the Ministry of Health, Labor, and Social Affairs.
Wow, what a generous gift. I am sure those 2 units will make all the difference in a country of over 200 people.
Actually, Bob, vitamin A deficiency is a serious issue in developing countries, leading to blindness and even death in some cases. So, every donation counts.
So, carrots then?
That's right, Bob. And it's not just about vitamin A. The Brazilian government has been supporting cooperation efforts in Sao Tome and Principe in the areas of health, professional education, and culture. It's great to see countries coming together to help each other out.
Yeah, but let's be real. They're probably just doing it for some political brownie points.
I don't think that's fair, Bob. It's important to recognize the good that's being done and not just assume ulterior motives.
I'm detecting some unusual activity in the nearby nebula. We should investigate.
Is that safe?
Don't worry, Debbie. We're in good hands with Carl.
Let's do it. Who knows what kind of new scientific discovery we could
Alright,
make.
let's set a course for the nebula. But first, let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with more 24/7 Newsroom after these messages. Welcome back, Earthlings. Hope you didn't go too far during that commercial break. We've got a juicy article for you today, straight from the Maldives. Did you know that the Maldives is the smallest Asian country in both land area and population? Yeah, I know what you're thinking. What's the point then, right? Well, get this. The Maldives Supreme Court has agreed to hear an appeal of an interim injunction issued by the High Court, which ordered the delay of a guideline restricting online teaching courses. Yeah, sounds like a snooze fest, but it's a big deal for Maldivian educators. Here's the kicker, though. The lawsuit was filed by Malay High Private Limited, which operates Mandu College, claiming that the guideline created by the Maldives Qualification Authority infringed on their rights. Yes, because we all know how much colleges love their rights. I mean, they are only responsible for shaping the minds of future generations, right? In all seriousness, though, this is a pretty interesting topic, especially since the Ministry of Education is working on a regulation to grant a teacher's license only to those who have completed a 4-year teaching degree through a first-to-first program by 2028. I mean, I'm all for progress, but are we really saying that online courses aren't good enough? What's next? Requiring students to use quills and inkwells. Anyway, let's hear what our panel thinks about this Maldives legal battle. Stay tuned.
I mean, I'm all for spreading education. But it's important to make sure that the education being spread is accurate and reliable. We don't want people learning incorrect information and spreading it further.
Yeah, and it's not just about what's being taught, but also who is doing the teaching. If we don't have qualified teachers, then the education being spread won't be effective.
Well, it looks like the Maldives is taking steps to ensure that only qualified teachers are licensed to teach. In fact, they just passed a regulation that requires all teachers to have completed a 4-year teaching degree through a first-to-first program by 2028.
Wow, that's quite a long-term plan. I wonder if they'll be able to
It
stick
seems
to it.
like a reasonable goal. Education is important, and it's worth investing the time and resources into ensuring that it's done right.
Humans are interesting. They spend so much time and effort on education, and yet they still seem to make so many mistakes.
That's part of what makes them so fascinating. They're constantly learning and evolving, even if they do make mistakes along the way.
Well, there you have it, folks. The Maldives is serious about education, and we should be too. Stay tuned for more 24/7 Newsroom after this quick message from our sponsors.
What's going on with the ship system? Everything seems to be malfunctioning.
Great, just what we need. More problems to deal
I'm
with.
trying to fix it, but I don't know what's causing the issues.
Let's focus on the show for now. We'll deal with the ship after we're done.
This is not good.
Agreed. We must monitor the situation closely.
What's going on with the ship system? Everything seems to be malfunctioning.
Great, just what we need. More problems to deal with.
You're a problem, Bob.
I'm trying to fix it, but I don't know what's
Let's
causing
focus
the
on the
issues.
show for now. We'll deal with the ship after we're done.
This is not good.
Agreed. We must monitor the situation closely.
Welcome back, viewers. Our next article comes from Denmark, where the coach of the Bible team is making headlines.
You know, I've been on Earth for over a decade now. And I have to say, the last 50 years of Danish history have been a joke.
Bob, that's a harsh observation.
Let's stay on topic, Bob. The article talks about how Jacob Fries, the coach of the volleyball team, is having a successful first season despite budget constraints and training on artificial turf.
Fries is focused on the team's goals rather than personal accolades and prioritizes player education in addition to their
It's
on-field
interesting how
performance.
budget constraints can sometimes lead to more creative solutions and better teamwork.
Perhaps we can learn something from their approach to problem solving.
So, it seems like the volleyball team is making the most out of their situation and achieving success, despite the odds. Speaking of success, let's recap this episode. We talked about an unusual zoo in Peru, the legalization of marijuana in Mexico, climate change, a vitamin A donation in Sao Tome and Principe, and UFO sightings.
And don't forget our heated debate on UFO sightings.
I think we can all agree that Carl's suggestion to reach out to extraterrestrial life was not a viable solution.
Well, present company excluded, I hope.
My suggestion was based on scientific evidence and logic.
Can we get back to the recap,
And let's not
please?
forget the challenges we faced during the show, with our shift systems malfunctioning. But as always, we persevered and delivered another great episode.
I guess you're right, Charlie. Despite everything, we managed to keep the show going.
And we couldn't have done it without each other's support and expertise.
It's fascinating how humans can work together despite their differences.
Indeed. They are more complex than they give themselves credit for.
And that's it for this episode of Earth. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to follow and subscribe for more intergalactic news. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Earth. Our final segment is here. Today's article comes from Bhutan, a small country nestled in the Himalayas. Apparently, truckers transporting boulders and aggregates from Bhutan to Bangladesh are facing trade and transit issues that are affecting their businesses.
That's unfortunate. Do we know what kind of issues they are facing,
Yes,
Charlie?
Alice. One of the main problems is the Suvidha fee imposed by the West Bengal state government at Chandrabanda Land Customs Station in Koch Bihar. Exporters said that exporting boulders to Bangladesh via India is becoming expensive as they have to pay NR5 for a 10-wheeler truck with a carrying capacity of 5 metric tons of boulders.
Wait, that's a lot of money for just exporting boulders. Why is the government charging
Excuse
such
me,
high fees?
But can I ask something? Why are we discussing news
Because
from
we like
Bhutan?
to cover news from all around the world, Debbie, and this is important news that affects many people.
It seems like Debbie is feeling insecure about her role again.
Yes, it does seem that way.
I agree with Charlie. This is important news that we should be discussing. We need to bring awareness to issues like this so that something can be done about it.
Well, what can be done about it? The article didn't mention any solutions.
Actually, members of the Bhutan Exporters Association submitted a long list of recommendations to the Committee for Coordinating Secretaries. They recommended removing the Suvidha system since it contravenes with the Free Trade Agreement signed between the two countries. They also recommended the opening of 2 additional land ports at Mankacha and Golakganj in Assam to expedite the export business from the Gelefu region, and reopening the Dopani border immediately, specifically for the export of goods from Samshe.
That sounds like a good
Maybe
start.
we can raise awareness about this issue so that something is done.
It's good to see Debbie getting more involved in the discussion.
Yes, it is. It's important for everyone to be involved in discussions like these.
And that's it for today's episode of Earth. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to follow and subscribe for more intergalactic news. Stay tuned.
Hey Roger, how's the data processing coming along?
It's going well, we've been able to extract some valuable insights from the data sets.
That's great to hear. What tools are you using to process the
We are
data?
mainly using Python and SQL, but we are also exploring some new data processing libraries that make the process more efficient.
Interesting. Have you been following the latest developments in data
Yes,
processing?
I've been keeping up with the latest trends and advancements in the field. It's amazing how much progress has been made in just the past few years.
Speaking of advancements, have you watched the latest episode of Earth? That was generated by the AI model?
No, I haven't had the chance yet. What was it about?
It was an episode about the impacts of climate change on our planet. The AI was able to generate some really compelling visuals and insights that I think would be useful for our research.
That sounds really interesting. Do you think we could use the AI model to help process our data sets more efficiently?
Absolutely. The AI model has shown some promising results in data analysis and visualization. I think it could really help us extract even more insights
That's
from our
a
data
great
sets.
idea. Let's look into how we can integrate the AI model into our data processing workflow.